movies or films. I'm gonna look it up and find it here, but it's kind of weak, not as strong. But that's why we're like saying, hey, what does it mean? What movie is going to be looked at as or deemed as need to be tariffed? For example, a Jurassic Park. The locations, we need to go over to these locations to film those, or can we use the Utah Badlands? Can we use those areas of the Florida swamps and things of that sort? Would that be? But then there's certain costs and certain environmental costs and permits and things that may add up to a production that say, hey, it's just cheaper for us to be in New Zealand. It's cheaper for us to be in Hawaii. Well, Hawaii was still part of America. I said that twice. But it's cheaper for us to be at this exotic location that is not in the Americas. Does that get taxed? Does that get tariffed or whatever? Is it production only that's getting tariffed, or is it the overall movie release in theaters around the world? Is that going to be tariffed? And then also we got to look at the political impact of this. What if these other countries decide to tariff our movies coming into their countries to be played in their theaters? What if that happens? Then how does that help the film industry, being that it's struggling as it is about how to really navigate the streaming and how to navigate the AI and its taking of jobs? And then how is there any, and then I'm throwing out a lot of stuff here. I'm throwing out a lot of different ideas about what it means to be in Hollywood and filming overseas and what that looks like. Because we can easily talk about, they're cutting costs or saving this, and then I have heard a couple of interviews where executives are saying it's just cheaper for us to grab our crew, fly over for a couple of days, film what we need to film in that country than it is to film in California. Okay, that may be true and all, but what makes you think that you're not going to get even more ideas and say, hey, why don't we just set shop up over here in this country, and this country makes a deal with you where you're getting upwards to 50, maybe 60% kickbacks overall, and you have to cast 60% of the local community, which would not be American actors or American workers. So with Trump doing this, I can see how people are rallying behind this, because Americans could be losing their jobs in the cinema, in the cinema industry, in the film industry, bringing those back. However, though, something in me is just telling me that this strong arm approach of 100% tariffs on a product that is something that is so much like vapors. It's like these are movies. Movies are timeless. They're colorless. People of different cultures learn about different cultures. And how do you tariff that? How do you put a tax on that in that kind of way? How do you tariff that? How does that work? So until we can get a definitive specified answer, that's going to be very hard for the film industry to pivot about how tariffs could influence how someone could create a movie, or how someone could interpret a book that says that it happened in the sands and dunes of Morocco or Sahara Desert or in Egypt or whatever. And you have to be like, all right, well, that's going to cost us, because we have to rebuild and replicate all of these things, because we can't go over there to film because we don't want to acquire any tariffs going on. None of these policies have came into play yet. That's why we're still talking about them. That's why we're mentioning it. That's why we're bringing it up. And so I believe that's going to kind of conclude my portion about Hollywood is overseas. Hollywood is filming overseas. It brings up a lot of conversations about, do you have an issue with UK actors portraying American actors? I believe a lot of that is a conversation within the Black urban sector of filmmaking, the black sector of actors, Pantheon, I believe that's the thing. I am a black director. I write, I believe, black-oriented things of sort too, and at the same time, I believe that American films should be filmed by American actors, if that's what you can find, because I believe they're going to have more of an authentic portrayal of that character. I'm not going to say better or worse. I'm just saying they kind of a more authentic portrayal because of the actual lineage and knowledge and history. And some of that is going to come from the actual sitting down and getting to know that person, that cast that want to be that character. And that person that you get to know that may have a authentic in depth may be from the UK because their parents moved to the UK and they were born in the UK, but they have a sound understanding of what Americana value or what it is to play that particular character. And that's what it is. But my point of it to bring up these different things is saying what makes it that a production company could move to Europe, Italy, like Mel Gibson, and set up shop and start hiring the locals. And Hollywood is still empty and still not filming there because of the policies and things that you have to jump over hula hoops in California, in Hollywood. And maybe Texas and New Orleans are not presenting a big enough incentive to accommodate a production. Not only the incentive, but accommodate these people coming, because Los Angeles is a city that seems like it doesn't sleep. New York doesn't sleep. These cities have facilities that could, sorry, I gotta turn this camera off. Sorry, I had to turn this camera off. These cities can't facilitate the nightlife possibly, or the amenities that some of these celebrities or some of these creatives and things may need. And that's just a small portion, so don't harp on that for me right now. Because I believe Houston is definitely ready, Dallas is definitely ready, Texas is ready. We're ready, we could take it. So the thing is that all of these are a factor. So, and they're all in competition of each other. Texas has a very competitive rate of a tax incentive, and let's go into that tax incentive and that comparative rate and understanding it, because I think we're good with the political impact with the whole, Trump, what he wants to do. To wrap that part up, I don't believe that there's anything that's been enacted. Nothing's happening with that. So people are still making movies in different countries. People are still making movies hybridly, where there's some of the film production is here in America, and some of the production may be offshore somewhere or in another country. But until we cross that bridge, I'm gonna keep on that story. I'm gonna keep up. It's developing, but to go into more so of like the competitiveness of being able to have the incentive, be competitive enough to bring back productions to American cities, American states. Let's speak on Texas alone, because I believe I started speaking on that, and this is something that we would need to understand, because I started talking about it because of the comments that I was seeing about, like, when we see the Woody Harrelsons and we see the Matthew McConaughey's and even 50 cents and all these and tax incentives, and the governor Abbott is talking about these taxes. The governor of Texas is talking about these tax incentives and how much money is coming in for film. We start to hear about the scandals also about the film commissions that are going to LA, and they're supposed to be drumming up business to bring productions to the city of Houston. And we see that they're out there in Los Angeles living it up on a $1 million salary that's supposed to be some of the tax incentive monies to bring a production to the city of Houston. But this is being corrupted by an individual that wants to live in Los Angeles and live it up amongst the stars and not really have that trickle down to the regular person. Again, I'm always talking for the regular filmmaker person. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. I'm dropping some diamond gems tonight for a lot of different social classes within the film industry. And I'm hoping that the investor class is listening to my shows, is watching this show, especially this one, and understanding that there's things that we need to create right here in Texas. Because Texas is so big, or we can be considered like our own little country. We can survive here as creatives. We have to make our creatives that are coming out of high school, that are coming out of colleges, out of programs, that are just naturally have a talented skill and they can harness it. We need to be able to create within Texas. We need to be able to create some sort of safety net or some sort of foundational program that there is a funding that can be had, that could be taking place. Because even in film school, there's a lot of film students that could utilize and tap into this. And if there's other strings that have to be tied to it for that particular person that's borrowing the money or getting the money granted to them, then so be it. Let that be known. But right now, it's just that it seems like it's a very far stretch because most of the options that are there are crowdfunding, grants. I just listed them earlier, but I'm just mainly going through that again because crowdfunding is where it seems to be kind of at. But again, that's a whole other mode that you have to kind of get in and have, and you need a team and a coordinator to be able to help you with that. Because if you're just because you created a movie and you created some production or you're a camera operator doesn't mean that you're going to be able to creatively direct your own crowdfunding campaign. That is a whole beast in itself, and give the respects to it so that way you can be successful with the crowdfunding campaign, because those type of routes can work. Getting with collaborative filmmakers, other folks that want to do the same thing, which I think what they're trying to say is like, get with someone that you possibly could film make with. You may not have to pay them. They may want to work together with you in order to get things started until you guys can start generating some funds, and you can come up with your own contracts, how you're going to split that up and determine those things. But that's what that's talking about. And so $250K is the minimum in order to even qualify for the Texas tax incentive. If you want to get a Texas tax incentive, you need to have a production that is producing, that has took $250,000 to produce it. And you're going to need to show all the receipts, all the paperwork, everything adding up to the T. Every single dime adds up. Whatever receipts you give them, those receipts need to add up to $250,000 plus in order for you just to qualify, to start to qualify. On top of that, 60% of the movie needs to be produced in Texas. In Texas, whether it's in the rural areas, unsolicited area, whatever it is, it's in Texas. 35% of the Texas crew, the crew that you have, need to be Texas residents crew. 35% of your production needs to have that. 35% of the cast needs to be Texas resident cast. You need to be able to submit your application with your script plus your budget. And you must be able to prove everything. This is written down in the state with the State House. This is typed in there. You must prove everything. And that's the kicker, because as an independent, not an indie, even an indie, but an independent, you got to have the patience to wait for all of this stuff to get approved. While all this stuff is getting approved, before it got approved, you have to give them something that they're going to approve. So that means you're going to have to put money in all the way before you even see any kind of kickback from that production. So this is not, hey, I'm going to do a movie, I got 250, or you're going to have to already have the money, already done spent it, done your thing, and then prove it to them in order for you to get this approval kickback. But again, this is just the minimum, it's $250,000. So at that minimum, you may get a 2, maybe 1% kickback rate off of that tax incentive. Now you get up into the millions, that's when it starts to get up where you can get maybe upwards of 20 to 31% tax rate kickback. The more money you spend, the more money you don't. But again, I'm speaking for the regular folk. We're not spending the 250K. We're in the 3 to 20K. So I'm wondering, is there going to be some sort of pathway for funds for those who are doing the 3 to 20K? Even if it's something that where it's a grant oriented, but it's something that's oriented to where it doesn't have to be a grant to where you have to make a movie about the city, about something going on. But the grant this is for narrative films, where your film is something that you created, you made up, your own story. It's original. It's your own story. It could be a horror, a drama, a sci-fi, a comedy, a heist movie, a bank heist, whatever it may be. Rated R, rated G, rated PG-13, whatever it may be. There should be some sort of apparatus access to funds in order to film these things, because again, filming is expensive. It just is. It's expensive. It takes a team to do it. It takes very high-tech gear in order for it to do it. It takes very comfortable settings of being able to nourish people to have food for it to take place. It takes very complex and very motivated branding and marketing strategies in order for a campaign to a particular product to work. When I'm calling the product, I'm talking about the movie. That's just me using a corporate talk so I can separate myself from saying movie, film. It's a product. Once you put it out, it's a product because we want somebody to take it and purchase it and watch it and do what they got to do. So Hollywood oversees why, the political impact, tax incentive, what is it, and who gets them. And so we're on the part where who gets them. You know, who gets them? And this is where I kind of was like, kind of wanted to lay out the good and the bad. And I think I